Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to be talking about how I've seemingly became the happiest I've ever been in life. I haven't made a video in a while and the last one had a rather somber tone to it, so I've decided to get back into things with a much more upliftingly themed video. This idea actually came about when I realised I'd been given very similar advice to lots of people over the last few months, and the majority of them came back to me and said they appreciated it and they enjoyed seeing my perspective on the world, which is very different to most people's, and they said it helped them in their own lives. So hopefully some of you out there can apply some of these concepts I'm going to be talking about today and they can help your life in some way. That would be incredible. The first thing I want to talk about is a philosophy that has made my life significantly better since I've started adopting a lot of its ideas, and that is called Stoicism. And the main fundamental idea behind Stoicism is that we only have two things in life which are in our control, and they are our thoughts and our actions. Everything else in the entire world is not in our control, whether it's what other people think, what other people do, the weather, the price of Bitcoin, it doesn't matter, it's not in our control. So the idea behind this is, if it's not in your control, then it shouldn't be enabled to affect us negatively. On the face of it, this seems like a very sensible idea, because if we're affected by things which aren't in our control, then our happiness is being dictated by the randomness of external events. So it makes complete sense that this shouldn't be the case, but it's much harder to put into practice than it sounds. So I'm going to give some examples of how this has helped me in my daily life. Let's say you're at a party and someone accidentally spills their drink on you. Your instinctual reaction will be to be frustrated because something has happened to you which you would rather not have happened. But frustration is a negative emotion, and one that we don't have to maintain if we don't want to. You may now be thinking, well, I didn't choose to be frustrated, how can I possibly choose not to be? And it's a very good point, but with practice, it is very attainable. So to be stoic in this situation is to realise that you can't change what's happened, whether that's your clothes being dirty or your arm being wet, whatever it is. You can't change that, it's happened. But you can change your outlook towards it, and this can give you lots of power. I think a good way to imagine it is with a flowchart. So the first question is, do you have a problem? If no, well, there's nothing to worry about. If yes, can you solve the problem? You can solve the problem, then there's nothing to worry about, solve the problem. And finally, you have a problem but you can't solve it, well, then there's nothing to worry about because you can't solve it. I'll give another example of how this mindset can be very beneficial to you, but this time regarding being stressed out or anxious. Okay, this time, let's say that you're going for a job interview or a promotion at work. Now, this scenario would be very easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself and have a lot of anxiety about what's going to happen next. So how can we better deal with this situation using Stoicism? So instead of thinking, I really need this job, what if I mess up, what if I do something stupid? The Stoic would think, I'm going to display my skill set as well as I possibly can. That's going to give me the best chance of getting the job or promotion. If I get the job or promotion, it's not in my control. It's not up to me whether that happens. And therefore, whether I get the job or promotion or not will have no bearings on me in a negative way. With this attitude, your goal has been realigned to one that is actually within your control, because you're only trying to improve yourself rather than control the external actions which you have no power over. And this mindset transfers really well to competitive games and sports, because if you have this mindset of I must win, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because one, you might be unlucky, and two, you might be against someone better than you. This is out of your control. But if you realign your goals to I'm going to become the better version of me, this is always in your control and always attainable. So how you think literally determines your reality in this world. And this brings me on to materialism. I thoroughly believe that true happiness comes when you are without needs. So this is to be completely content with who you are now, where you are now, and where you're going in life. And that means it can't be bought. To quote a famous Stoic, and one of my favourites, called Epicurus, everything in life that we need is easy to procure, but everything that we want and desire but don't need is hard to obtain. And if you apply this Stoic nature to the rest of life, you can see we can't control what we have, but we can control what we desire. So next time you have a need for something material, whether it's new shoes, a new house, a new watch, a new car, whatever it is, I want you to think about all of the things that you do have right now, that you had that exact same need for. How much happiness are they bringing you right now? I think the sooner you realise that you don't need anything material to be happy, the better that will be for your well-being. And not to sound too cheesy, but the best things in life are actually free. Whether it's love, laughter, sleep, seeing friends, seeing family, having fun, creating memories, working on your passions. I bring this up because there are so many people out there who are solely just goal driven, and I believe it can be detrimental to your livelihood. Someone who is purely goal driven will often have this mindset of, I'm unhappy now, but I'll be happy when I achieve my goal. Only then I'll be happy, but eventually I will get there. And this is dangerous for two reasons. But first of all, when you achieve a goal, you don't remain indefinitely happy, no matter what you might think, no matter how big the goal is. And two, more importantly actually, if you only rely on goals to be happy, and there's external variables in there, so you're going to fail sometimes, then this can be very depressing. I know this because I used to be one of these people. I used to travel around playing poker all the time, and I would be so fixated on winning, I would envisage this moment of pure elation where all of the hard work finally paid off, I finally did it, my financial situation turns around, everyone suddenly sees me as this great success, and that's just not how it works. The hard reality of it is you don't get to control whether you win or not. So the times that I did lose, which was obviously most of the time, it would absolutely kill me. My entire mood would shift into a negative one for at least a few days, and this is just not a smart way to live when failure is such an unavoidable part of life. And this was all happening because I was letting the external variables of life directly influence my happiness. And one day this did all change. It was in Vegas last summer, and I'd lost quite a few tournaments in the day, and they were my last tournaments of the trip. So this meant that not only had I made a loss for myself, but I'd made a loss for everyone that had invested in me. So up to this point, after every loss, I was thinking, it's okay, I'll do well in the next one. There's always another tournament, eventually I'll get there. And now there wasn't going to be any more tournaments. I had lost everyone money. It was inevitable. And this really, really hit me hard. At the time I was thinking, these are all my friends who believed in me, and I've let them down. And it was a lot harder because this was the first time I was on my own. Usually I had my fiance to go and talk to and make me feel better in all these crazy situations, but this time I didn't. And I was also physically very far away from my close friends, from my family. I remember thinking, what am I doing with my life? What is the point in any of this? And lots of other depressing thoughts which are completely alien to me now. So I needed to clear my head. I decided to walk back to my hotel instead of getting a taxi, which would have taken about an hour longer than usual. And the initial part of this walk was not very pleasant. It was me battling inside my own head with all these thoughts of, you're a failure, what's the point? And then something kind of crazy happened. So I got to this side street, and there were about 13 homeless people on this street. And this is like 45 degrees Celsius, Vegas, really stuffy, hard to breathe weather. And looking at these guys, I was genuinely thinking they're not going to last maybe even a week. And this was such a wake-up call to me. There was me walking down the road like I was in some sort of emo music video, being depressed about life because someone turned over some cardboard and it was better than my cardboard, so I had to give them loads of little plastic betting discs. And I was going to have enough money for food. I had a home to go back to. It's almost laughable. And then the thoughts in my head completely changed. It was saying, what right do you have to be unhappy? Do you know how unlikely it is that you're even alive right now? That your mum met your dad, that sperm found that egg, and then the same thing had to happen with their parents, and you can date that back to the beginning of the planet, and then that had to form in that way. You can probably go back to like the solar system, the universe even. You can go back as far as you want, but it's incalculable to work out how unlikely you are to be here right now. So most people are never even going to die because they're never even going to be born. And you're here getting to see colours and smell cooking and listen to your favourite music. Also, you're not homeless and you're not born in a time when life was a lot harder. And you're sad because you lost at a card game. What on earth is wrong with you? So it was this day that I realised it was me that was making me unhappy. And blaming luck was going to do nothing but hinder any progress I was going to make. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, you don't know how hard I've got it. And obviously, you're right, I don't. But it's only a limitation if you let it be. You will never be happy if you're wishing your life was better than it is. Some people will always have it easier than you, but it's not in our control. None of us chose to be here, so why not just find things to be grateful for and actually enjoy? And if you believe that some situations make being happy absolutely impossible, then I want you to take some inspiration from a man called Viktor E. Frankl, who wrote his memoirs from a concentration camp. He famously said that everything can be taken away from a man except his ability to choose his attitude to the set of circumstances he's in. And in my opinion, if you can be content in a concentration camp, then you can be content anywhere. So I implore you to, as much as possible, just not consider yourself a victim. And in some ways we all are. But if you've got people you enjoy being around, things you like doing, then isn't that something worth celebrating? Why be preoccupied on the things that might be better in someone else's life? It's not important. But remember that things can only affect you as much as you let them. Smooth seas do not make skilled sailors, as they say. So the tough times are a necessity because they make you more grateful to the good times, and they also shape you into who you are today. It was around this day in Vegas last year that I finally decided to take authorship back of my life. I realised that I was the one deciding I needed to win, and I was the one not dealing very well with it when I didn't. So now instead, I like to try and make the most of every single day, and instead of focusing on what other people have better than you, focus on what you've got that's great. And if you can't find anything, then you're not looking hard enough. Okay, this video has already gone on longer than I planned it to, so I'm going to put it into 2 parts instead. So to surmise this video, I would say, don't let things that are beyond your control affect you in a negative way, or if they're going to, at least minimize it. Don't be the victim of your own story. Be the hopeful protagonist, the one that can do anything if they put their mind to it, and they will. All it takes is trying. You can't change the past, but you can accept it. It doesn't always have to be this way. And just be grateful for being alive, because maybe this is it. We don't know what happens next. Like, maybe it's reincarnation, maybe there's an afterlife, maybe you become one with everything. Maybe it feels the same as before you were born. The only thing we do know is that we don't know. So it seems sensible to me to work with what we do know, and that's, I'm here now. I'm going to make the most of the time I've got, that I know I've got. And that means do as much as you can, experience as many things as you can, make the most of your time here. Okay, I'm going to have to leave it there, but on the next part I'm going to be talking about purpose, how I found mine, what I believe mine is, how you can hopefully have help finding yours if it's something you want to do. So yeah, thanks for watching and have a delightful day.